the meeting, and when Christina gets here, Christina asked if she could do the new library committee report when she gets here. She has to leave to pick up a bunch of kids. So
Okay.
there she is. At least in formal portrait, my word.
Wow. Very nice.
Yes. You're not supposed to look better than the rest of us, Christina.
Oh, there
Oh,
she
she's
is.
in a
Okay.
car. You're on mute. You're on mute.
Yes, that's so she won't talk.
Impossible. I wouldn't do that to you, Betsy.
We have officially started the meeting. I will tell you, John Boris is not here. Yvonne is also not here. She had a death in the family.
Oh no.
One of her nephews
Oh, no.
Oh no.
Yeah, which is all I know at the moment.
Oh, that's awful.
Yeah. Okay, so we will start public comment, none. Correspondence received, none. Christina, you wanted to do the new library committee now. Are you in a safe place where you can do that?
Yes, absolutely. I'm sorry. I'm in my car at Cadigan. So I've got the lights on and whatever. People probably think I'm super important having the lights on and the car on and everything. The new library committee, sorry, I'm going to have 5 soccer kids get in here by around 8 o'clock. So that's why I wanted to go first. But the 2 things that came up on the new library committee this past week were I had a conversation with Steve Dunn regarding time frame and that sort of thing, because I knew that the Center School Ad Hoc Committee had handed in their report, and in their report they did mention the library as a good use for the center school location. So knowing that, I wanted to see where everything stood, like when the report was going to be discussed in the Board of Selectmen and that sort of thing. So went in, I talked to Steve Dunn, and he told me that he's hopeful that the Board of Selectmen will they're actually going to ask the Center School Ad Hoc Committee to do a formal presentation to the Board of Selectmen, and that will be either October or November. Now, I would assume the fact that we're in, the middle or late September, that if the people who are on this call that are on the Center School Ad Hoc Committee haven't heard from the Board of Selectmen, it's going to be pushed to November, or December timeframe. I don't know, but he did say October, November. I went back and I looked at my notes. So knowing that the location was kind of getting a little bit closer, I'll call it a little closer to finalized, that was exciting. Another thing that he did mention was that the school project, the bonding that they're getting for the school project, the rate that they're able to borrow at is significantly lower than what they had initially thought. So that means that there is maybe perhaps some wiggle room for other projects to, move forward a little bit quicker than originally planned. So if you'll remember, we were talking about being able to bond in about 2028, which meant going to referendum in about 2025. And then if you think about that, to go to referendum, you need the plan. So we were talking about 2024. So that date could creep up a bit. And if we have the Board of Selectmen saying that their preferred location, if they accept the report from the Center School Ad Hoc Committee and they say their preferred location is Center School, then it's like everything's kind of gearing up a little bit quicker, which is actually really exciting. So that's something. And then we did a little talking around, okay, well, what are our next steps? So our next steps are really, we need the Board of Selectmen to discuss it in the Board of Selectmen meeting. And then once that occurs and they say, what they, that perhaps they're hopefully that their preferred location is center school as well. Then we're ready to kind of move on that location a little bit more and start talking to the municipal building committee. And we talked about that being the next step after hearing from the Board of Selectmen that's their preferred location. And then other than that, that was the big stuff that came out of the new library committee. And quite honestly, it's exciting to report some exciting stuff from the new library committee, because I feel like we've been in this sort of, holding pattern for a little bit now.
Okay,
Does
good.
anyone have any questions?
No, the only thing that you might have noticed on the agenda was for new business was a letter of intent to apply for the state library construction grant. You all know that we had one of these for $1 million, which is the maximum. And we ran out of time. Well, we had the referendum prior to the ending of that, didn't go through. So we need to apply again. And I looked it up, and it basically, once you get approved, you have 3 years from the date the State Library Board approves the grant to get your funding in place by referendum for us. So that sort of compresses. I was hoping for a little longer period of time, but we'll see, and we'll get some more information about this anyway from Yvonne when she's back. So anything else on the new library?
No, that's all.
Okay, thank you.
I do have a question, Betsy, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Christina, so I know you said the date could be pushed up. Do you have a timeline in mind?
No, I think it would be almost a little bit, it would be dangerous to put a date out there right now before talking to. So one of the reasons why we need to talk to the municipal building committee is because we need to know what we need to put in our budget for our capital budget for the 21-22 budget cycle. So that's coming down the line. But a lot of, we've said this in several different ways, but a lot of the groundwork has been done. So we are in a really good position right now as far as knowing what we need and what we want, and having ourselves very at the ready. But I don't know the time frame right now. No, I'm sorry.
That's
I wish
okay.
I did.
Okay, anything else? Okay, so we will go back to the agenda, and we need to approve 2 sets of minutes. One for our regular meeting on the 26th of August, and one for a special meeting we held on the 1st of September. Would you like to do these separately, or can we do them together?
Together is fine
I
with
think we can
me.
do them together. Yeah.
So do we have a motion to approve both of those?
Motion to approve both.
Okay.
I'll second.
Ooh, lots
Okay.
of seconds.
Yeah.
Claire, you get to pick a name. Are there any additions or corrections to either one of those?
No.
No? Okay, all in favor of approving both those minutes?
Hi.
Unanimous, thank you. Okay. The director's report, treasurer's report.
It's next month, but we should probably talk about the discussions going on.
Yes.
Marcia looked at what the Waylick Foundation had and looked at our what we have. And by the way, we still have over $500,000 in our account. I looked it up again today. she said it looked like we did not get as much as what the Wadelet got, and maybe we should look at moving where we keep our endowment. We did not have Wells Fargo come this year because of all of the COVID stuff. So maybe what we do is before we do anything, we just ask, I could send Siobhan what they were comparing it to, since they're both Wells Fargo, and ask her to come and provide a more detailed at either the next or the meeting after that. I don't think there's any big deal on it, except that they now have the treasurer involved in it as well too. Although he said we could do what we want, but it's probably worth a look. So we can look at it at our leisure. Because I could not tell from what they were looking at whether they looked at how much we spent. We spent a lot of money for us out of that account by the refresh of the library. So if you're just looking at where it was and where it is without taking into account what we spent, that's not really a fair look at it. So it was hard for me to figure out based on what Marcia sent and everybody sent. But I think the best thing is just to have Siobhan come to one of the next meeting or so and give a more detailed review.
Yeah.
And because we've told her we want not an aggressive investment, because we don't want to lose a lot. We want to keep gaining. And when I first took over back in 2014, we were about 400,000, and we're over 500,000, and we've bought a lot of stuff and used a lot of the money since then. So from what I can see is every year we go, when she presents, our performance is above the average of the indices. So it's not like we're losing anything. Could we be more aggressive? Yes, but that means possibly losing some and possibly gaining some. So it really depends. And we pretty much have a pretty conservative view of our investment. So I looked at it. I think I'll get to Siobhan. I'll share with her what they said from another Wells Fargo account, and we'll ask her to come talk about it when either she can come in person or have it in whatever.
Yes. Yeah, one of the things that concerned me is that everybody talks about in this past year, we didn't do as well. And I wanted, we don't just look at this year.
Correct.
We look at ever since Wells Fargo has had our money, and they have done well. We lost money in 2009, like my guess is almost everybody did. But even with that, we've done well over that period of time.
Right.
And it's a much better comparison to do it as long as you can at Wells Fargo. So,
right.
Yeah. So yes, we'll get Siobhan to come back and compare what we do to this. This Wadelet is a scholarship fund in town.
Yes, it's a scholarship fund in town. So it's very different. It's probably smaller. I don't know what they have. But it was an endowment, and I don't know whether they give out just what they make every year and they keep the base. I'm not that familiar with the Wadelet. But I think Marcia's comment about we would have had $80,000 more if we had done just what Wadelet had done is an unfair comparison when you look at over the longer term as well. So, I mean, it's
also about the amount of money we spent last year.
Well, that's it. That's why I sent that note back to Yvonne. I said, did they take into account what we spent? And I have not received an answer for that yet. So my guess is they did not.
Yeah. So thank you for keeping up with it.
Okay. And we have $504,000 in it still.
Wow. Very good. Thank you.
Okay.
Any questions? No? Okay. All right. The director's report. So a lot has been happening. The library open, for which we're grateful, even though it's only for 24 hours a week and you have to make an appointment to get in, but we are open and serving the public. And we have 2 part-time custodians coming on board. We might actually get some serious cleaning done in the library. So I don't know. I haven't been to the library. I figured I wouldn't take up one of the spots yet. I don't know whether any of you have been there.
Inside. I haven't gone inside. It looks
I-
beautiful. From
But I've seen the online story hours outdoors, and I think they're fabulous.
Yeah, they are. What's scary is we're getting down to where, well, outdoors you can do for a long time during the day, I guess. It'll warm up.
I went inside and it was great. I felt it was clean. Everything was organized. The team were following protocol. They did a great job.
Good.
Good. Yeah, and the report says that they're looking at possibly not having to have appointments after the end of September, which would be nice. And so to get more, to allow more flexibility in going to the library. So I hope that works out. Anything else you were particularly taken with in the director's report?
I'm interested in what's going on with the fines.
Well, one of the things I know is that the next version of the software we use for circulation from Bibliomation will not have fine collecting included in it.
That's what I thought. I just found it interesting because I think they're charging fines again for certain things, but I did wonder though, with the way that I was just wondering what was going on, like if they're why it was on hold. I don't know. I was just interested in, because I'm sure Yvonne knows. It's
Well, the new version of the software is I guess that's at the point where there will be no fines regardless of what we want, unless
Yeah.
we way to collect them. I thought what we were collecting on fines were DVDs and media, not books.
okay.
Right.
Okay. And it was
Because-
just, I think it was more a way to get people to return things, right? It was really a way to get people to return things. But
Yep.
then with the way things are going and, the book sale not on and that sort of thing, I was just wondering if there was something in the director's report that said something about fines being on hold or up for maybe not up for discussion, but it was something about the fines. And I thought, I was just curious. That's all.
Yeah, it's one of the goals for the future to develop strategies for fine-free and the loss of fines from, it's called Evergreen, which is the name of the software we use. So, yeah, it's something that's coming, and it will cut down on revenue for us, and was one of the reasons why the passport facility was intended to possibly replace all or some of that lost revenue, and now that is at least temporarily gone. And if people continue not to fly, it may be less and less viable. So, anything else?
I just wanted to give a quick shout out. The back to school photo buttons was a
Yeah.
fabulous idea. That was such a great idea, and it sounds like it went off really, really well.
Yeah, somebody's whole kindergarten class from Danbury showed up. I thought that was neat.
So they might have to wear masks, but at least their little faces are with them. So
Yes.
great.
Yeah, I thought it was a good idea too. I'm very pleased they did
Yeah,
that. I like the voter registration drive on Tuesday too. So I hope they got a lot of people registered, and I tried to see if we could get a poster from the Commission on Aging, worried about seniors getting a chance to vote. And we had a poster an electronic copy of a poster, I think put out, by the state. I don't think it was local. But it's a red background, and Yvonne said they couldn't get it to print on their on the copier that we have. So, but hopefully we'll put up signs and encourage people to vote. And well, there is actually already a sign on the library property about the ballots and the being able to vote by absentee ballot, just because we're in the middle of a pandemic.
Right. And does it explain to people how to use the ballots correctly? All the envelopes and everything it goes into?
The sign doesn't, because it's one of the little yard signs. It directs you to the town clerk's office though. So I don't know whether, I mean, we could probably ask to have a link, because I think the town clerk is where we ought to be sending people to find that out. So putting simply a link on the library's website, directing them there, would hopefully get people to look at it. So yes, we do need to get people out. Okay, so let's see, on old business. I think that actually the 2019-2020 budget has been closed. It's a miracle. The problem still remains with the capital projects budget for the current now fiscal year. It has not been approved because it needs to go to referendum. And so on hold are all sorts of things for the library: security cameras, the windows, and the accessible bathroom downstairs near the community room, which is unfortunate. So the center school use ad hoc committee, Christina talked about the fact that we turned our report in at the end of, I think at the end of July, but too soon to get on the August meeting for the Board of Selectmen. So hopefully they will consider it. It's one of those strange things though. There is no way to know what effect that report will have. I mean, it's a report on what the committee thought the best use of center school would be. There have been other kinds of reports done sort of on the same line, and they just sort of get turned into the Board of Selectmen and go nowhere. And so I don't know what or when any concrete action will come out of the Board of Selectmen.
I'm sorry, I have to go.
That's all right.
Goodbye, everyone. Thank you for being patient with me.
Thank you. So if I find out that the committee's report will be discussed at a Board of Selectmen meeting, I will let you all know. And so, because it would be good to have people there in support of what the committee said. So we'll try that. Let's see. Oh, the trust fund spending policy. I said at the last meeting that I had an idea that I wanted considered, not for a vote. It's not for a vote this time, but I talked to John Boris tonight, and what I proposed was that we have in this endowment fund, trust fund at Wells Fargo, about a half a million dollars right now. And
Right.
about half of that winds up being non-spendable for purposes of regenerating income for the fund. And I suggested last week or last month, and I would suggest it again a little more clearly, that the board look at taking $250,000 of that fund and saying, we won't spend it, we will hold that, and that will be the first $250,000 in fundraising for the new library. It's an ill-formed, and I'm not asking for a vote. The one thing I will tell you, John was concerned that I meant that if we approved it, we would immediately send the money to the Brookfield Library Foundation.
Oh, no.
That's not what I intended. I said we'd have to come up with some kind of conditions on timing that we would then send the money. So at any rate, I wanted to make sure that was understood. If sometime, I guess in the next couple of months, we may want to actually put that in action, maybe a better look at the endowment fund from Wells Fargo and see how we're doing, and think about it that way. Let's see, the director review process. Jessely has been thinking about this, we hope. Alice is going to be co-opted into helping her think and come up with an analysis of how we have done a couple of reviews for Yvonne and see if that's the best way to do it or if we could come up with a better way. So we're still waiting for that. Let's see.
And we should probably include Yvonne in that as well too, on the process, not on what that, you're shaking your head no.
No, no, you really need to set it up first and then include her. I mean, what you want to do first, because while it's collegial, there's still a reason for it.
Well,
And she's not an equal in the process.
no, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not saying as an equal in the process, but we've had a process. If we're going to change it, she should understand why we're changing it, what it is, and if she has any ideas on how maybe it could be made better. I'm not saying she's an equal in it, but we should get her input from it.
Well, see, what I actually wanted to propose, and I think I mentioned it last time, is she should be far more involved in a review of herself, like a self-analysis, much more, and letting us know what she thinks she needs to work on or what she'd like to work on. So, right now it's really trying to think of things to say about her, but not that they don't really help and they don't move anything forward. It's just we're coming up with nice things because she's doing a good job. But, I think the board should talk about what they think it should look like and then present it to Yvonne. Because
Yeah.
right now it's really not an evaluation.
Okay, so we'll trust that you two can come up with some kind of proposal and then we'll, thank you.
Alex, I'll email you so we can set up a date.
Okay. Yep, thank you.
No problem.
Okay, but I don't know much about the budget for this current year. I mean, we are going along hiring people. So my guess is we are probably pretty close to where we should be on the budget. The Library Foundation. The Library Foundation had a meeting Monday night, as a matter of fact. Alice and I are the two members of the board who currently serve on it. I think it's a very exciting group doing good things. We set up 3 separate committees to move things forward. One, to start worrying about fundraising, maybe events, and then thinking about going out after bigger donors. one on communication, or writing a case for support, and then just communication. So I think those are the three committees that are going to operate functionally, and then hopefully just report back at the meetings. The foundation also did extend the consulting contract that we have with Christina Cumberton to do all those things that everybody wants done and nobody wants to do. It's having staff is a great, and so Christina's really added a lot, I think, to the foundation.
Yeah, she has.
Okay. Let's skip. I want to save the strategic plan for the last minutes, or the last 20 minutes or so. It looks like there are not a lot of issues on reopening the library. I don't think it sounds like it's caused a whole lot of problems. I think we're still in a phase when people are still afraid to come out and go places. And so hopefully we can get everybody's confidence built back up that the library can operate safely for everybody. And we can move along to a little less restrictive attitudes. The town mandates for online meeting protocols. That you probably all know that a month or two ago, the Board of Ed meeting Zoom was hacked and caused a great deal of stir. And I know that the town was proposing meeting protocols. Originally, this said discuss them. And I asked Yvonne to change it to accept, because if the town sends out mandates for how we have to run the meetings, that's what we'll do. Apparently, they're not ready yet. So it is just to protect, I guess, protect the meeting from somebody else getting hold of the access code and trying to get in.
Why would anybody hack it? I don't, what's the point? Just to disrupt?
Yes,
Yeah.
just to be disruptive.
Alice, it was just disgusting what happened at the board.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. But it wasn't just Brookfield. There's a group of people out there doing it to a lot of Zoom meetings. And
God.
let's just say it was disgusting and inappropriate, and luckily there weren't many kids on it.
Wow.
Betsy, Sue Slater shared with us last night at our DTC meeting that the meetings are going to start being in person again, but it's going to be up to the chair
Ooh.
Oh, well,
Ooh.
per the board of selectmen.
yeah, I personally would go for in-person meetings.
Yeah. I like them much better.
Yeah. All
Space,
right, good, thank you. That's good news.
yeah, if you have the space. So like, some of the board meetings meet in that room where the board of selectmen meet, and you can space out,
Yeah.
the board of ed has been spacing out, but people have been complaining because it's very difficult to understand the board of ed when they're speaking because they all have masks on. So.
Yeah, well, yeah, we'll have to discuss it, but we could do it.
One other thing, with public comment is also a concern, because you don't want people coming in to comment. You could have 20 people come, you could have 2 people come. So that's another potential issue.
It's public comment is always an issue. Yes, you either get nobody, which is too bad in some way, or you get way too much, and it actually disrupts a meeting to have to listen and let people speak. So we'll see what happens, but good. Thank you. That's good news.
Yep.
The capital projects budget is on here because Yvonne thinks that in spite of the fact that we haven't passed this year's, we need to start thinking about the new one because they may start asking what we want on the capital budget for the following year, next budget year. And so we need to, one of the things we talked about, depending on the timelines of everything in town and on the new library, whether we need to put money in it because it's a capital budget item to hire an architect to do what last time we called pre-referendum services, design, well, in that case, a whole structure, but also do the placement of things in the building and work on the library program. Now, much of this stuff has been done, and we may not need to make very many changes, but we still need to know if this is, or the budget for 21-22 is the time when we need that amount of money in the capital budget. So we will have to be very careful. That's what I know that we need for, or potentially need. I don't know whether you have other ideas. The capital budget generally is going to cover things that happen to the building. Because I think, I don't know whether we have any furniture needs. Furniture, computers, the money we used to put in the capital budget for refreshing computers now goes into the operating budget. So that's different. So I don't know whether you have any ideas about what needs to be done with the building. We don't need presumably immediately, but pretty close.
Yeah, I think they were due in November. Those numbers are going to be asked for.
Yeah.
The only thing is if there's a way to make it easier for people with mobility issues to get from the top to the bottom, to the community room, up to the library and back again, whether you can put in smoothing a ramp down. I don't know if we need any of that, but that's one thing I would look at to make it easier for people that have issues to get up and down between the.
That actually is in the current year's capital budget approved. It turned out when we originally asked for an ADA compliant bathroom on the community room level, they put $24,000 in the budget for it. And then when they looked at actually doing it, they discovered we have to have one of the doors into the community room has to be replaced to make it accessible. And the entire ramp has to be redone. So,
Yep.
So we have the money to do that already.
well,
They voted on.
the capital budget hasn't been approved by the town. It's
Oh,
been approved by the Board of Finance and the Board of Selectmen. So that is still in the budget. We just, as far as I know, we don't know when the capital budget will be approved.
So we might just be rolling over last year's into the next year at this rate.
Yeah, we might. Yes.
But to Kathy's point, though, I think it's important to have money in there for ADA issues because the library still isn't. You can't be you can't be a little bit compliant. You have to be 100% compliant, and so I think it's a good idea to keep reminding people. It's one of the reasons we need a new library.
Exactly. Right.
But unfortunately, to put something on the capital budget, you can't just say make it ADA compliant. You have to write down what it would take to make it ADA compliant and what
an elevator, for example.
Well, yes. Well, actually, I was also after this last storm. I know that we have talked about in a new building, part of the budget goes for a full building generator. And I noticed I think the town just approved generators for the police station, the senior center, and town hall. And I don't know whether pushing for a generator for this
That would-
building.
I think it would be a good idea because people look at the library as a place to come, and if we don't have power, we can't really be a place for them to come.
Well, okay, so we've got two ideas. I mean, we've had the elevator, and there's no harm. Actually, asking again. So we have the elevator and a whole building generator. If you come up with other ideas, please let me and Yvonne know, and we'll look at anything else that we might. We also have to go out and get quotes for all of the stuff, obviously, to put it on the capital budget. The problem we're going to have a worse problem with is how much money we ought to put in for somebody to do work for the new library.
That's
Because
true.
and that's why it's going to come down to when we find out if we have a firm proposal on where the library will be, talking to the municipal building committee about from their knowledge how much it's going to cost to get some of the work done. We need to look at what we had done the last time and say, what do we want to send out an RFP for? How much money do we think it's going to cost to do that? So, okay, so we will have at least 3 things on our budget, capital budget. Okay. The letter of the state library construction grant, I think we'll leave that till next time, unless there is some real worry, because I think the letter of intent has to go through the Board of Selectmen in some ways. Hang on a sec while let's see.
Betsy, is there a deadline to apply to that?
There are deadlines, although the only deadlines I could find were for the 2020 grants, and they were due in June. So I didn't see anything for the grants for 2021 yet on the state library's website. So that was just a quick search though, and I may have missed something. Okay. I asked for some time to look at the long-range plan of the library. And this has partly my fault, because it says even in this one that I was chairman of the library board, and this ought to be looked at every year.
Oh,
And we have not. My apologies. This was done originally in 2002 by a long-range planning committee and a company called Library Development Solutions. And if you remember Leslie, who was the library consultant for the architects in the last process, she actually worked on this. It's her company. So she knows the Brookfield Library very well. So this is a long-range plan, which hopefully we can look at. I don't know whether you've all had a chance to read through it. And see if there are areas. I'm sure that the mission, we changed the mission for the library, which is the vision is on page 5. We may need to, and page 6. So we may need to look at that, looking at our new mission statement and putting that there. I was actually, in large measure, I thought this was pretty good. I mean, I'm not sure, except it says build a new enlarged and inviting Brookfield Library. The question will remain whether or not we build a library or we, at Center School, repurpose a building for a library. Do you have any overall comments? Specific comments?
Did Yvonne send that to us? Because I don't see it in her email.
She actually sent it the previous month. Sorry.
Okay, my bad. No, I have not looked at it. I'm so sorry, Betsy.
Okay.
Betsy, has anybody like updated this to see if we've actually done some of these things? Or
No.
does it?
How's that
Okay.
for you?
There's one part on page 8. If you, do you want to get specific or do you want to just talk in general terms?
Well, if you've got specifics, I'm willing to look at those.
Twice it's mentioned in here that you're telling the Library Foundation what to do. And actually, the Library Foundation's not a town committee, and so you can't really tell them anything to do. It's up to them to decide what to do. So I'm not sure that makes sense to have in an action plan. It's under action plan, page 8, strategies, the last bullet. You're telling them to launch a campaign. So you can't tell them. And I think it's mentioned again on page 10, work with the Library Foundation to create a capital campaign and endowment. So I don't think that belongs in there, worded that way. The other two glaring things I didn't see in here were to be ADA compliant. And you would think I knew a lot of handicapped people. I really don't, but it just by now, it's been like 40 years since the law was passed. And
Yeah, that was gonna be my big push was it's gotta be ADA compliant.
It's just ridiculous. And the teen space should be more than a couple of chairs. I mean, like, we should make a bigger effort because I want it to be an open inviting for the teens, but really I know we're so limited, but there's hardly any space for the teens to call their own. So those were the couple of things I noticed.
But it's better than it was.
I know. Well, it was nothing. So it was like 2 chairs and a little revolving book rack. God, this library is so pathetic. Oh.
Although
Yes.
I always get good comments. People love our library, so that's a good.
They don't have the vision that they can have better.
I know. I always
They
tell
don't.
them we do as well as we can do with what we have.
They do marvelously. That's the trouble.
That's it. Yeah.
Oh.
Tell him to screw up more often? No. Yeah, it is. That I think is one of our big problems that we didn't succeed the last time and we have to succeed this time is getting people to understand that it could be so much better.
Right.
That there is actually better things to do. And I mean, a teen space
Is a good one.
It is, yeah. And if this one does not have enough about a teen space, then we need to make sure that we do something with that concept so that we have something for kids to be in. And I worked on several years ago, the state library put together a task force of people to look at possible standards for how much space people devoted in libraries to particular things.
Oh.
They actually had an old one which said, if you have X amount of people, you got to have X amount of encyclopedias on stands, and they figured out how much space that was going to take. It was a little looser, but teen space came up, and also things like the teen space and the children's space are the two things that should have doors that close, because they both can
Right.
be noisy.
Right.
That happens, and that's generally a sign of a good thing. But I think this standard in the end said, so teens are noisy, get used to it, which I think not something you normally see in there. Alan.
The other one I thought would be good to focus on, I don't know how to word it, but it's for people who work online at home. They don't go into an office, and to have spaces for that would be kind of a modern thing.
Like little meeting rooms that they could sign out.
Yeah,
Meeting rooms,
Right, right.
right,
Like,
something along those lines. I don't know what the wording is though, but a lot of people are working from home now, but they really don't want to be home. They want to be somewhere working, not in the office.
Do you guys remember, was it the Ridgefield Library? They had like pods or something?
yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of the libraries and more meeting space where you can actually sign in and reserve space so that you could have business meetings as
Right.
well. So, yeah, so I agree, we need places like that.
So Mary, you said what, whole building ADA compliant, so that applies presumably mostly to a new building or to the current one in the meantime?
I know it's tough because this long range plan, we're planning about 5 years out.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll still be in the
Which-
current location, but do we put people who are handicapped at a disadvantage for 5 more years, waiting 6, 7, 8 more years? Maybe we'll have a new building.
See, whatever,
We got to
whatever
do as much as we can.
the building becomes, it should be handicap accessible.
Right.
Oh,
Used by somebody.
It should be a town-wide effort for this because it is a town. It's not just the library, it's a town building, and it should be handicap accessible, period.
Yes.
Yeah, it should be. Although my guess is by law, they could get away with it.
because it's grandfathered
Wait,
in.
Doesn't make it
No.
right.
no,
No.
how can they get away with it?
It does-
Grandfathered in.
Grandfathered in, it's such an old building, and that's the reason why we get away with some of the things we do between going to the community center to upstairs, because that's the way it's always been. Now, we have plans to put in a new library. I'm not sure what more we can do in the current library till we get a new library, though.
Well, I think it just needs to be mentioned big time.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with you.
And every time we ask for an elevator or a new ramp or something like that, it brings the discussion up again in public. So.
Right, right.
No, I agree.
Yeah. And you
Do
don't,
you think this, this current pandemic is going to cause fundamental changes in the way people operate? Will people stay working from home or coming to the library to work in a small area?
Some will.
I think so. I think there'll be more people doing that.
Yeah. Office space is expensive for companies to maintain. If they don't have to do that anymore, if it's working, why would they go back to that expense?
yeah, and honestly, with so many parents who have kids doing school at home, I mean, some days I would love to get out of my house and work a couple hours because I can't take it anymore. I need some quiet and a break. And that's not an option. Where can I go?
Right.
Then in my yard outside. There's nowhere to go.
And
I don't think it's better than being able to run down a hallway and talk to a colleague face to face, but I think since everybody was forced to this mode of working, I think a lot of it's gonna stay this way.
Betsy, can you turn to the very end, page 12?
Mhm.
This is under create a customer-focused library. And one of the strategies, the second one on the final page, is to encourage staff to develop a positive and professional attitude when dealing with the public. I don't think that should be in here. I mean, that's a given, you know. It should,
And they already do that.
in a 4-year plan, for God's sakes, if you haven't done it by now. You know, so that whole thing I would not have in there I mean, these should be like major things, not that we have a snippy staff.
Yes, perhaps what we need is not saying that everybody needs to be trained, but have a really consistent process for onboarding staff and getting them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because yes, library and library staff, librarians sometimes do not have the best reputation for service.
Well, right under that is develop an ongoing method for assessing customer satisfaction with the library. And then you could just put and provide training to address those needs, something like that. So it's covered that way without making it seem like we have a whole bunch of grumpy people dealing with the public.
Well, because
No.
we don't
Put that
actually.
book back.
A lot, and we don't, because our staff gets a lot of compliments from the people when the library was open. They're always open. We really never got complaints. We just get a lot of thank yous to all the help that they get. So I think
Which is why that shouldn't be in your 4-year plan.
I agree.
Yeah.
Maybe when this was written, there was an issue.
It could be.
Can I just,
It happened to some people in the past.
but can I just tell you guys something? The other day I picked up, I had some holds and I got a message that I had 2. And when I picked them up, there was only 1. And Elizabeth happened to be outside checking someone in. And I was like, I hate to bother you. I don't know what to do. I'm supposed to have 2 books and I only have 1. You know, I can't go inside. I don't know what to do. And she's like, I'll figure it out. She couldn't find it. And I was like, okay, it's fine. I don't know what happened. So I get in my car and I start to leave. And she literally was chasing me down with my book. I was not going to run out to 25. And I just happened to see her in the rearview mirror. Like, oh my God. I'm like backing up.
Throwing the book at you. No, it's a terrific staff, and this just makes it seem like there are some who aren't.
They go above and beyond. They really
Yeah.
do. I just wonder if that's maybe a past something.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right. Most of the people who said anything about the library, oh God, the building's awful, the staff is wonderful,
Right,
which is half right. I mean, that it's all right, but we want both ends correct. Okay, that's all right. So why don't I put together a sort of a list of your comments, and Leslie, do you all, if you can't find, I'll just email you another copy of this thing electronically.
I'll look for it. I'm sorry. As I said before, I'm a little,
That's all right.
my hair is on fire right now. So I'll find it and I'll look at it when I have a chance.
Okay.
Betsy, do you want us to email you a list of comments, or do you want to wait till the next
If
meeting?
you have other things that you would like to see in or out or changed, that would be good. And then we can put it together, see how it affects the document, and see if we can make it more up to date. And it's surprising how I thought it was doing pretty good, and we came up with some good comments about it. So
I have one more, and that's that makerspace stuff. Did we want to address that in here? Because that's become like the new thing for libraries, but it's not in here.
oh, okay.
That's
Actually,
Yeah.
Jeez. I'm assuming that's not available now, is it? Giovanni hasn't mentioned that in our meetings.
No, they're not
I-
allowed to make anything, but we have space for it.
Well, that was when we had the 3D printer. That was kind of part of the.
And the embroidery machine is also part of that.
Yeah, the sewing machines are also,
But that's not in here.
But-
That's what I meant.
yeah.
I get that, but you just made my brain go. So are people allowed to make appointments for that, or is that just not open right now? I don't think she's told us about that, has she?
I don't know.
Yeah, I haven't heard it mentioned, although it has always been possible, even when the library was open, for the 3D printer simply to send a file
Oh.
in and get whatever you wanted come out. Because I don't know whether you, Leslie, you may not remember, we went through this whole process of a policy that said we wouldn't print guns on our, because there were people who were
Yeah.
doing it. And so we did come up with a policy that said we wouldn't do that. And it's Jen's bailiwick to look at any file that comes in like that and see what it is that's going to get produced. But yeah, the sewing machines and the embroidery stuff were very popular. So my guess is that because the community room is not open at the moment to the public, which means that that's the only place they can be used. So hopefully that's one of the things that will come back when we can really open and be able to clean the community room after use. That, I guess, is one of the problems, that you should have somebody down there wiping tables down.
Right, that makes sense. Yep, got it.
I thought about those sewing machines when people were busy home sewing masks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was like, oh my gosh, the town has a whole bunch of sewing machines and probably someone knows how to use them.
All right.
yeah. Oh, that never occurred to me, Mary. That's a good thought. It's too bad we couldn't have made use of them.
I can see us up there sewing away.
Yeah,
The ladies of the revolution, like not sewing, but sewing masks for the town.
All right. Anything?
Leslie, I sent you the long range plan, so it should be in your email now.
Thank you, Mary, for doing that. Okay, let's see, if we have nothing else, please send me any other comments and I will put it together. Also think about capital projects for the current building that we might see, that we might think about, besides an elevator, an architect, and a generator. If you have some way of quantifying or codifying some ADA issues in the current building that we can actually say, fix this and this is what it will cost. So that would be good. All right. So we are down to announcements. The only announcement I was going to come up with, and I have to find it now, is the Friends are having another of their pop-up book sales.
Good. I have more books to donate, so good.
This will be October 11th, Sunday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., rain date the following Sunday. So this is out in the parking lot. Semi-sorted books for sale.
Is it easier for them to keep doing the pop-ups and less arduous than the giant sale?
The giant sale, yeah, because to do the giant sale, you know those two trailers out and back? One of them is full of boxes of books, some of them sorted, some of them not. The only way to sort, unless you do it out in the parking lot, is to move tons of boxes of books down to the community room, have volunteers spend a day or two sorting books and repacking them into boxes and then hauling all the boxes back up to the trailer. And well, the sales have been held at Center School. Obviously, Center School was not available for this year at the end of August. So we're not the only ones. There's no Friends book sale going on except these little pop-up things that are happening now. As Georgette said, everybody took my idea.
Yeah, I just
Now,
think
in-
might wanna keep doing it that way while the
Yeah.
weather's nice, going, in the next years, not just this year or next year, because God knows how long COVID's gonna last, but,
Yeah. Well, the last one that they did, they took in about $1,000. And normally the big book sale earns about 9 or 10,000. So
one a month and you've got it covered.
yeah.
Because, it'll be good to do that in January.
yeah,
In the
right.
parking lot.
Standing out in the parking lot when the town shovels the parking lot out, we can be out there cold.
In a new library, would we have a little room that there could be a perpetual Friends of the Library book sale?
Yeah.
Actually, the Center School report said that the library itself needed 35,000 square feet to operate the library in. And we needed an extra, I've forgotten whether it's 4,000 or 5,000 square feet of storage, because one of the problems at Center School is there's no basement in it. So there's no place to put things except where you are. So we asked for this 4,000 or 5,000 square feet of storage on the same floor as the library, partially for the front to be able to operate, bring all their books in there, sort them, and sell them out of the same space.
Mhm.
That would be super cool to have an ongoing, that would be awesome.
The library gift shop,
Well,
book sale / gift shop.
having a bookshop is a whole nother level of so I don't really envision doing that because it takes a lot of people to do that. But just a space to have where you can do all your sorting, get books all sorted and have them on shelves and ready to go, and have a sale in the same space would be wonderful. So that's kind of one of the things we're looking for. So come down and buy a couple of books, or if you're like Kathy, bring 8 more boxes of.
Where actually
I'll have to drop them off beforehand because I will be in Annapolis from the 10th to the 24th.
Ooh.
For waiting for, my daughter's pregnant and she's due on October 11th.
Oh,
I have an
nice.
Airbnb from the 10th to the 24th down there, so.
Nice.
Wonderful.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, I tried to drop books off and it says it's not to drop off. So what's the story with that?
Yeah, we cannot, there's no room in the trailers to put them at the moment. So Georgette remains willing to take them on these days when we're selling books.
Oh, okay. I missed that part of the conversation. I'm sorry. Got it. Okay.
Yeah, so it's just easier. It's a tough way to deal it. And I don't know whether you know Dan May. Georgette's husband, who those two are, it's just like Jan and John Furlong, having 2 people, but Dan does most. When I tell you that somebody has to get 100 boxes of books from the trailer down to the community room and then back up to the trailer, for the most part, that's Dan.
Yeah.
So he is very good. Although he's just got hired as one of our custodians.
Oh, really? That's great.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's great.
I've been holding on to my books and I'm having someone come and pick up some donations and I was like, I'm just gonna give these away because they're taking up space in my house. But I guess I could drop them off now that I know
Well,
that.
at the last book sale, I brought
You
7.
Trade?
I dropped off 7 and handed money and said, here. So I made a donation of money and books and then I left.
Yes. All right. I think we should bring this to a close. Thank you. It's been a productive meeting.
And quick too.
Is it?
Okay.
Oh, that's even better. Yes. Good. Thank you all for your input and your continuing involvement, and we'll adjourn.
Okay.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. And